arrest that has affected dozens of secondary schools across the country. Bitok said boards of management and school administrators should avoid subjecting learners to examinations they are not prepared for, arguing that such situations could trigger disturbances and disrupt learning. He called on schools to engage students and address concerns that may be creating anxiety rather than compelling them to sit high-stakes assessments. His remarks came amid concern of a student unrest that has swept through several learning institutions in recent weeks. According to the Ministry of Education data, about 80 secondary schools have experienced disturbances, including arson, attacks, and student walkouts, leading to closures and early release of students. The European Union has announced that it has sent 100 tons of humanitarian aid to the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo affected by the Ebola outbreak. The aid includes medicines, tents, and protective equipment for health workers in efforts to help control the disease that has continued to spread in the country and in neighboring Uganda. The DRC officially declared an Ebola outbreak on May 15th, with the WHO declaring a global health emergency due to the spread of the disease. According to the WHO, 452 cases of Ebola have so far been reported in the DRC and Uganda, with 82 deaths. There is no vaccine or specific treatment for the Bundibugyo Ebola strain that is causing the current outbreak. The epicenter of the outbreak is in eastern DRC's Ituri province, an area that is difficult to access due to poor roads and threats from armed groups that continue to undermine security. The fate of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is now in the hands of a 3-judge panel of the High Court, who are expected to rule today on the case he filed against his removal from office through the parliamentary process. Speaking ahead of the ruling, Gachagua said he is ready to accept any outcome the court may issue. He stressed that he has faith in the judicial system and that he'll respect the decision of the judges regardless of the outcome.
Nilitolewa kwa ofisi against the law, against the constitution. So simutaniombea, mutuombe, and we are ready for whatever outcome. If the 3 judges rule that we were treated unfairly and against the law and the constitution and lift the impeachment and let us be, we shall be grateful to God, and we shall be very grateful that there is justice system in Kenya that works.
However, Gachagua has said that if the court issues a decision contrary to his expectation, he'll appeal against it, urging his supporters to remain calm.
If the ruling goes the other way, it is still okay. We'll still have an opportunity to go to the Court of Appeal and follow the legal remedies that has been provided by the Constitution. I want to urge my supporters across the country, irrespective of the outcome, to remain calm and peaceful. Rigathi Gachagua is a very peaceful person, and I want to ask our supporters to be peaceful and calm. You know, when I was removed from office, the people who removed me were laughing that Rigathi has been removed and his supporters are saying nothing. It is me who told them say nothing.
That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Presidency is fairly interesting in the sense that it will actually take us to a new consciousness.
Swali zile watu hawaulizi, na swali muuliza na shangala ni aje, kwani huku kunaendaje?
30 billion shillings annually on travel alone in public service.
A Kenyan can even demonstrate every single day of his life that Ruto must go. That is the only message of his demonstration. That is his right.
That bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of those who are in the right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
He himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament, so...
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said...
The government.
Yeah, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo, ungekuwa umeenda bali sana hii. So when we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 8 minutes after 8 o'clock, and a very good morning to you. If you're just tuning in, this is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, and we're talking this morning about many things up for sale. There's rots. People are being looked for. We can't find them. We'll have all of those conversations this hour as we're getting into it, looking to the state of the nation. We'll talk about it in just a bit. But
yes,
true wealth is that which you're able to leave towards generations after you. No? Yes.
Because remember, it is not about if, it is about when. And knowing that at some point your life here will cease to exist, you need to start planning for that. So then you need a partner who will hold your hand and tell you, come, let's sit down, let's have a conversation on how that legacy will go beyond a single generation, but many generations to come. So then talk about a Britam whole life plan, where they're telling you, okay, fine, you can come, let's sit down, we'll see how you're going to pay up and stretch that through a specific period of time. So say 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years. And that amount ranges from 5 million all the way to 100 million shillings that you can leave for generations to come. So unlike ordinary life insurance in Kenya, this cover continues for life and offers coverage ranging from 5 to 100 million shillings with additional benefits like, listen here, waiver of premiums in the event that you are suffering from critical illness or you have been retrenched to say. So they tell you, come, let's sit. Lose job. Okay, let's have you pause paying your premiums. When you've sorted yourself and you're back and you're able to pay, you continue with that for the rest of your life. So the easiest way to go about this is you just send an SMS, right, with the name Life and the name of your town to 21778. Or you just send a WhatsApp message to 0705 100 100, or also just call that number and someone on the other side of the line will receive that and take you through the process and make you be on this legacy planning through Britam whole life. Because they're asking, it is not about if, It is a win.
It's definitely a win. So the sooner you get to planning, the sooner it is. All right. That's it. And to get into conversations this morning, for us to then carry on, because the state of the nation is what we look into. And I just need to take a minute to apologize, guys. A little bit of a technical issue this morning, and some of our streams are just up and down and doing the whole belly flop. Stay with us. Hopefully now that we've gotten it back, and then we can continue with our conversations. So our live streams are up. YouTube, Facebook, on X. And, apologies for that. Hopefully now we can be fine as we get into a conversation with Fanya Mambo, who is a lawyer and political strategist, has joined us this morning. Fanya Mambo, good morning.
Very good morning to you.
When the people who you hang out, when they call you, what do they call you?
They call me Kinuthia, they call me Fanya Mambo.
But Fanya Mambo, nobody can say Mambo or Fanya.
Whatever, even Finya. Kimani Shungwa calls me Finya Mambo.
He does.
Yeah.
And perhaps part of that conversation will come in today as to why then Finya. Either way, state of Kenya is what we're looking into. And thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you.
There are many things that are going on, of people who have been arrested, those who may or may not have flown the country. If 210 million or 65 million shillings was found in a house somewhere, and somebody who was supposed to be or is, CEC has then, run off with that. For people who then will be charged with manslaughter when it comes to the falling of a building. I mean, these things are all happening in Kenya, and we've not even gotten to schools or Ebola. Part of what we'll be discussing today. You need to take a sip of something.
It's a full plate.
Yes.
We have hot water, thank you.
You're most welcome.
Yes.
Before we do that, let's go to Guinea with Dennis.
Yes, Guinea, a country that is rich in bauxite. You know what bauxite is used for? Bauxite.
Bauxite.
It's a mineral.
Okay, you tell me what it's used for.
It is used for processing aluminium or aluminum. Actually, aluminum is turning out to be one of the most expensive metals in the world today, because you think about vehicles across the world, aluminium is being used for that. But they're also rich in gold, diamonds, and iron ore, right?
Wow.
But let's go to the proverb. A person's true wealth is in the good they do in the world. How would you interpret it?
Yes, it is. It is indeed in the good they do in the whole world, because I have looked at, even yesterday I was at Amatanga, we underground somewhere. And every time when people are giving the eulogy, they never mention ameacha Prado Tatu, Nyumba Saba, and so on and so forth. In fact, they only say about your family and your legacy. Nobody mentioned about how many mansions Mandela had or anything of that kind. It was about his legacy. So I think he's just telling people that everything else we accumulate, like some primitive people I know in this country, it's futile. At the end of the day, it's very fickle. You'll be left with nothing. What has been left of big names in this world, even Martin Luther King, is what they did to impact on humanity. It's not how much they accumulated physically. Yeah.
Wow. Well said.
Very well said.
Vanity.
Vanity. Oh, it's vanity. Well, it's interesting because even as you say those things, I mean, do we need to do a list? It seems to be quite a number of things that don't seem to be going quite right. And we're saying, well, you need to get it right, but because there's just too much. Whether we're talking about, well, let's start off. Why would 65 million shillings be found in the home of somebody who is tasked with the responsibility of urban planning for the county?
Was it really 65 million?
Well, okay.
I have always told Kenyans, a million shillings is 1 kg.
Yep.
Okay? So if you have 65 million, it's 65 kg. All those people, you counted them. I want Kenyans to challenge themselves. Take a minute, just watch that video. All those people, all that weight was 65 kg. Come on. Let me make it easy for you. Ile mtungi ya 20 liters, the one we carry for drinking water, that thing is about 20 kg.
Yeah.
So when just three of them.
Yeah.
It's the weight of 3 of them. How many people do you need? Fanya Mambo carries 2. So
you just need 3 people.
So if it was 65 million, forget science, forget everything else. Just common sense. I submit to every Kenyan. That weight, that load, that carrying capacity was not for 65 million.
Fanya Mambo, you know, at times, some things just strike you and you're like, because you look at a bag of maize is 90 kgs.
Yes.
If you go to the loading deck, an individual carries 90 kgs.
Yes.
That means if you take 65 kgs and even just put them in a bag, one person is able to carry 65 kgs.
Yes. I was telling Kenyans, unaendanga wanainama pale, anaekelewa cabbage. 70, 80, 90 kgs. You should go, and they carry. So these 65 kgs that required so many people to carry, I dare submit this was more than 200 kg. And remember, the measure is 1 million is 1 kilo.
Right.
Yeah.
So I go back to the question. Why would, 200 kgs of cash be found in the home of a CEC for urban planning for the county?
From where I sit, I think that money belonged to someone else.
Okay.
It belonged to someone more senior than him in the county.
Okay.
And I think he was set up. And he took the bait. Remember, from sources inside City Hall, this person was about to be promoted into something. I think he was either vying to become a chief officer or a CEC. He was running for any one of the two. And let me put this off. He was running for one of the two. So there was that chance that he was going to be, and I think the powers that be at the county did not want him to be. So I see a case of someone who was set up. I'm not saying that he's innocent. The bulk of them drive cars that their salaries don't explain. But yes, it's just going to tell Kenyans one thing. Sisi wa Kenya tukiamua, if we decide today that we are going to visit some of these state officers, we will, in fact, we'll never need to borrow money for anything in this country. Because there, I just saw, again, the leader of majority, Kimani Ichung'wah, with a stash of cash carried in a harambe when they were doing over the weekend.
For a health system that works.
Yes, for a health system that works.
Yeah.
Very many of them were carrying a lot of cash. And I said, I think it's a high time to jiulize kama wa Kenya. Isn't this the time we decided to raid the houses of some of these people? Just to do an investigation of how much money is available. Because the problem now we have of not having liquidity is because people have hidden so much money in their mattresses.
Yeah.
Some mattresses are more comfortable than others. So we need to start saying, who is this that we need to go and say hi to? Because we just need to check who is carrying cash in Harambes. That cash is not coming from bank accounts. We start saying, tulikuwa umebeba 5 million yesterday. It means mahali ulitoa 5 million, there's another 10, 20, 30. So we start visiting their houses and telling them this is our public resources. Because how do you carry money that is probably your 1 year salary? It is wrong. So we need to find a way to start asking very hard questions as Kenyans. Our watu wenye wana occupy public offices, I keep telling people, a 2024-2025 Prado is about 25 million shillings. And now that brings me to the question of the budget.
Yeah.
Why do we have a permanent secretary? Why do we have a director? Why do we have someone who is in procurement driving a 25 million car in this economy? What is their salary? So that's the starting point. We see one, we stop it on the road. Tell us, if you're a business person, it's okay, Peter. But you're a public servant in a 25 million economy in this, in that 25 million vehicle in this economy, we should be able to stop you on the road. Yeah, and tell you the maths is not mathing. Yeah. We need to get that radical now and start saying, no, wait a minute. Why is this going on? Why would a public servant 2-3 years ago, alikuwa anatembea na KNZD? 3 years, what magic has happened that you can afford a car worth 25 million and your salary is 200,000? Now that's the reason we are stopping you on the road, to explain to us that black magic that you are doing that is making you to be able to drive this car.
Because, I mean, we've seen the situation where the CEC found himself, Analo, right? 65 million shillings, 65 kg, now it's 200. There is that. But we will also not be lost to the fact that we've lived in a country where we've seen individuals, especially in the political class, who show up in Arambes with duffel bags full of money.
Yes.
And if we are serious in fighting corruption, it is good that we are seeing heads are rolling, Analo. But we equally need to go and raid each and every single person, because there's a time when President William Ruto stood and said, there will be no more Harambes in this country. The laws of the Republic stops you from transacting 1 million shillings through your bank account.
Yeah.
How is it then that we'll see people walking with millions of shillings in bags today and not raise questions?
Because they are thieves. And the system has enabled them to steal. And that is our money, it is not their money. And because they are all in government. Have you seen people in opposition carrying that kind of money? I haven't seen an opposition. I haven't seen Kalonzo with that kind of money. I haven't seen Rigathi with that kind of money. I haven't seen anybody who is not in broad-based carrying that kind of money. All those people who are carrying that kind of money are in government. So government is a cabal of thieves. Those are the people who are stealing from us. all the people, even the guy who was founded with whatever, whether it's 200 million or 265 or 250 or 65, that guy is also in government. And so it tells you it's our money. It's not, I wish these were business people, but this is our money. We are doing campaigns on a very unfair platform. I'm in a constituency where yesterday alone I saw one aspirant give 100,000 to 5 different women groups. And they're the people who are selling our state assets. Someone is given a contract to sell state assets, and then they go to the ground, they're able to give 100,000 to each women group in one Sunday. These are the thieves we are speaking about. They're selling our nation.
And there's no answer to these questions. And what we're saying is that if you're going to have a right-facing country and a right-facing economy, the first you have to come to grips with the truth. And the truth of the matter is that if we're looking at a budget, which incidentally is going to be read on Thursday, is that there's budgeted corruption which takes place. Yes. For example, the issue has been brought up that there's 50 billion shillings in the budget today. In the budget, in the statement, that there's 50 billion shillings that's going towards the housing fund. So questions are being asked, housing levy fund, whatever the case may be. Questions are being asked. If that's the case, whereby you're taking money, exchequer money, and applying it to this fund, what happens to the money that you're subjecting Kenyans to that's coming out of their payslip every month? Is it a combination of a fund? Why would that money be there?
I'd like to explain to Kenyans something, because Kenyans are talking so much about finance bill, they are forgetting where their problem is. I want Kenyans to look at these two newspapers. This is the budget, this is the finance bill.
Yes.
So what these crooks do, they go and sit in parliament and create something they call a budget. Okay. And so they create a budget of 4.8 trillion shillings. In that 4.8 trillion shillings, there is money for State House, 17 billion. There is Kindiki's money for 8 million per day to fly. There is 11 billion for the president to fly around the country. You see a State House. Another 5 billion, I don't know, for local travel. That is the budget. And then we have the finance bill. Now, this evil thing we've been fighting called finance bill is supposed to make proposals on how we are going to raise money to finance this budget.
Okay.
So I've been telling Kenyans, our problem is not finance bill. Our problem is the budget. We need to come and ask, why is a PS rolling around in a 25 million shillings car? That's nonsense. Wanyang'anyo wapatue NZ, kila mtu wapatue fielder ya 2 million.
Panakuja na gari zao.
If you can't, no, you can be given a state car, a fielder, 2 million, okay? If you can't do in a Toyota fielder for 2 million, go and do whatever else that you're supposed to do. Okay, so we are budgeting excesses. We are wasting money. First, we create an avenue to waste money. And then we come and kill Kenyans with a finance bill to help us finance a budget for 4.8 trillion. If we were to be serious as a nation, what we need to do first is to say, this budget has a problem. Okay, Gary appears at 25 million, toa. President, sijui traveling, I don't know, 11 billion, toa. We remove. Kenya will be left with a healthy budget of 3.5 trillion, thereabout. Now, this finance bill will not be as punitive because it is not carrying a very heavy weight. So the biggest problem we are having is that kind of nonsense, where you look at the president now, we don't remember the last time he was on Kenyan soil. And you see the word tour, like to tour a place, and the word ruto. The only difference is how you write. If you take the word tour, you rearrange, you'll get ruto. If you take Ruto, you rearrange, you'll get tour. He's touring the world at an expense to us. It's so expensive to have him as our president touring the world. Sometimes I even think that we should wait for him at the airport. Ako Kandege, we ask questions. Because now we can't occupy State House, but we can occupy the airport. We wait for it to land. And we tell that pilot, if you land that thing in this soil again, we'll have a problem with you. Because the Pope, the head of the Vatican, one of the wealthiest institutions in this world, flies Air Italia. He's always taking commercial flights. Kwani KQ imekufa. We have so many Boeing 787s. I don't know Boeing what. I've been telling Kenyans, a standard Boeing flight has about 189 passengers. Okay? So 189 passengers. Let us imagine he's going to the US. The air ticket right now is about 200,000 per head. So tumhesabia 200,000 times 189. That is 34 million. So let us pay for him a complete Boeing, him and his entourage, nothing else, to make Komboa. It's 34 million. He'll land in the US. He can stay there and wait. KQ will wait for him. And then once he's done, we pay another 34 million, 64 million, instead of spending 537 million in a luxury jet. So this thing of the Pope being able to fly Air Italia, and the president of a country that cannot feed its own children, munapatiwa capitation ya 95 shillings per child, flying in such an expensive jet is what is killing this country. So our problem is not finance bill. Our problem is we are budgeting for rubbish. And part of that rubbish is getting a person whose name, if you change it, can become Tour, or if you change Tour, it can become Ruto. And he's always touring.
And here we are dealing with a lot of these issues. And while all of this is happening, you're getting into a week whereby the budget will be read and that you're going to be told, essentially, how the country is going to spend money. Part of that money is debt. We know that in the numbers, one of the sectors that gets easily the lion's share of these funds is education. Now, unfortunately, we are not able to see the end result of that kind of investment in this sector, whereby we're dealing with now 6 years. We used to, in 2025, we talked about 5 years of unpaid capitation balance. Now, we are talking about 6 years of unpaid capitation balance. For the first time in history, or maybe the history of 5 years, the first term capitation this year was paid before the term began. Well, that was a story because we got into second term and then now we're telling stories. But then we have an education sector that is really all belly up. Things are in the air. I mean, we have recommendations about what should be done in school. And now in the second term, as has always been the case, it's very clear that the second term has been the time where we see unrest. We don't see unrest in the first term. We don't see unrest in the third term. In the last 30 years, the unrest that has led to the fires, that has killed children, that has now made commissions to sit and chairs to then, has been in the second term. It seems as though the indicators of these issues are very clear, but we don't want to deal with them. We then had a PS yesterday who then spoke with an essence of bravado, where he basically said, we'll shut all of you down if you bring this nonsense. We're not looking at the issue to solve the problem. We want to beat it down with a stick the way you beat a lizard. Why?
Because the PS does not know what he's doing in his job. I happened to have sat at the board of Nanyuki High School for 4 years. And when I was sitting in that board, I discovered where the problem is. The government wakes up and says 100% transition to high school without a commensurate investment in school infrastructure. So a school like Nanyuki that was supposed to have taken 350 Form 1s that year was given 495. So the principal had 145 boys extra. What do you do with them? Do you know the atrocious things that principals do? Because he has to keep his job. They partition the library. They put some children to sleep in the library. They partition dining halls. You should go to some of these national schools I don't want to mention.
It's happening
you
today.
You find places where children
the
are
sanatorium.
sleeping. Yes, under the stairs. Some have, and then the bathrooms are not enough, the toilets are not enough. And then there is a government lacking common sense building a stadium worth 100 billion. Let me tell people something, because sometimes they think I make noise for nothing. The president was celebrating Madaraka. I don't know what kind of Madaraka that is. In a stadium that was alleged to have cost 4 billion. And by the way, I think taxpayers 4 billion is very special because when you look at that stadium, unatafuta 4 billion unakosa. But think about it this way. To build one classroom in this country costs 1 million shillings. So when you have, a billion is 1,000 millions. I like explaining things to Kenyans in the easiest way. 1 billion is 1,000 millions. So when you have 1 billion, you have 1,000 classrooms.
Yes.
When you have 4 billion, you have 4,000 classrooms. If you take 4,000 classrooms and spread them across the 47 counties, congestion is over in our schools. In fact, that is classrooms plus dormitories. It is enough. So what we wasted in one stadium in Wajir, and people in Wajir will come and say, I'm fighting development. I'm not. Think about it this way. What's the maximum number of times a stadium can be used in a year? Probably 2 times a week. 2 times a week times 56 times 53 weeks is what? 100 opportunities of that stadium being occupied, if it is lucky to have 100 visits.
Meanwhile, what you're saying is that
if you had built classrooms
or dorms,
they would have been occupied by children throughout the year.
To the number of 85 per county.
Yes. So 85 each county.
Because if
would
you
have
took 4,000 classrooms or dorms and spread them around 47 counties, you essentially get 85 per county. You would have 85 if you took that, and this is 4 billion shillings. It's not 400 billion. It's not 40 billion. It's 4 billion, and that we're saying with that 44 billion, with that 4 billion shillings, if you applied it and said we are going to put up a structure where children can sleep spaced out properly, or we're going to add more classrooms so that people are not doing ridiculous things like sleeping in a sanatorium or under the stairs, you would have 85 new ones per county. And then I would have to ask the question: when is the last time you saw a school being built in the country? The last time.
So that's the kind of madness that we are dealing with. And I strongly to suggest to Kenyans, really, if we are going to vote in 2027, and I believe we are going to vote, that Kim's kit for checking whether it is you who is voting, we adjust it a bit. It should have something for measuring common sense. So as you put your finger there, it measures whether your brain is up to standard to vote for us a leader who has got common sense. So that if it measures and says you're a dimwit, we deny you an opportunity to vote because you're going to give us the wrong leaders.
If today you were asked, because I mean we all know what your aspirations are, Fanya Mambo, because the school thing is an issue now. There are children, families who are now being given 200,000 shillings compensation, whereas the gesture it's from the it's a good gesture, but you will never be able to bring back life, and we are still in the throes of the problem. What do you think needs to be done at the moment, where we are having schools closing down every hour? Is what it looks like today.
I think a lot of things need to be done. First, those children are going through a very difficult time. School is not a place they look forward to. The amount of capitation that is being given to school, if it is being given and it comes late, is not enough. What principals have resorted to doing, and I have seen it firsthand, they look for the cheapest supply of maize. I'm even afraid that God has just been faithful. Our children have not died of aflatoxin poisoning. Our principals are looking for the cheapest supply of maize, not because they hate our children, but because that's how they keep the children in school. Kama ni maharagwe, ukisema unauza 120 per kg, na unauza 110, anachukua ya 110 hata kama imejaa mawe, because that's the only way to feed these children. It's gotten to a place, even the cabbage supplier, you look for the cheapest, not the best. You know, at home when you go to the market, you look for the best cabbage you take home. School principals are having to choose the worst and the cheapest to be able to feed the children.
And this is the case?
Yes, it is the case. It is the case all over. And they are being sued all over. There are so many cases they have in court. They've not paid suppliers. Some their school buses are being auctioned because they've not paid suppliers. So first, let us reinvest in these schools in the right way. Let us make sure there's enough infrastructure for our children. Let us make sure they have enough toilets. Let us give them dignity, because what these people have actually lacked is dignity. There is no dignity for our children in our schools.
Do you think they need to put a pin in it and ask children to come home for a minute and let's just first and then see what needs? Do you think that needs to happen?
Not necessarily. I think what needs to happen, I have always said, is very simple. Let's have a law that says if you're a public servant, your children must go to public schools. They will put up toilets at night. They will paint those toilets. I'm telling you, the problem we have is our leaders prescribe something they don't consume.
True.
So they tell your children, go to school, but they take their children to schools that are where helicopters are landing. If you go to most of those schools where helicopters are landing, the bulk of them are children of people very senior within government spaces. So they don't understand what you're talking about. I told Kenyans that if I get to Parliament, and I will next year, the first thing we shall do is pray on the floor of the House that this MP, they have their own medical cover, which we pay for, by the way, to the tune of 10 million.
10 million, yes.
But they don't use our SHA. So all our MPs have to be on SHA, or all of us have to fit into that one. The minute you do that, you fixed healthcare. Yeah, and if you say that this public medical cover that you are paying for MPs is only valid if you take it to Kenyatta National Hospital, I am telling you, Kenyatta National Hospital will get a facelift at night. So the problem we are having is not our schools. The problem we are having is those who make laws, those who run this system, don't consume.
I mean, Fanya Mambo, I hear you speak, and that has been my prayer for a very long time, because there is no way as a cabinet secretary for health, you're telling me SHA is working when you are on a 10 million shilling comprehensive private cover. It just doesn't make sense.
Remove it.
Therefore, when you talk about where we find ourselves today as the state of the nation in matters to do with education, it is fact that I have a child in my house. Every time they come, I'm not feeding them githeri with weevils.
Yes.
They're eating the best githeri there is.
Yes.
That this child is equally not insane, that when they get to school and they see weevils, they will raise that as a problem.
Yes.
And nobody today wants to talk about these facilities as a problem, because even the PS is talking about it's 2,000 who have a problem, not everyone else, and we will not shut down the schools, instead of saying, we have not invested in education. We see a problem. And as a government, perhaps we have done wrong. We apologize. We will fix the mess.
I have a suggestion to the PS. Wacha kupigia watu kelele PS. Leo, I want you to go to a boarding school. Choose one near here, Kiragale.
And don't tell them you are coming.
Don't tell them you are coming. Go and get served the evils and eat. They will serve you githeri that has weevils. I want you to eat it for lunch. Surprise another school today where unajifanya PS or education. We are giving you a challenge. Surprise another school today. Go for dinner. Go sit. In fact, queue. Wacha isaviwe when the others are eating. Let's see if you can eat those cabbages. We have dehumanized our children so much, and then we keep shouting at them and telling them that you people are evil. I took my son to a national school, and every time he was in school, I had to give him extra pocket money to buy bread, just to cover for the rubbish of the kind of food that they give them in school. I'm sorry to call it rubbish, but it is.
It is.
We have treated our children in this school like prisoners. Even prisoners are not treated that badly. And then you come and say wanachoma dormitory. Wanachoma dormitories, upeleke mtoto wako akule huko. All the MPs, stop, making noise in parliament. Take your children, look for these schools, take them there, insist they have lunch there. Wataumwa na tumbo wiki mbili. Our children have developed very resistant stomachs. Let me tell you. The cooking oil that is being used in most of these schools, unaona kile kia yellow, the very sticky one with a lot of hydrogen, the hydrogenated one, that one, that's the one that is being used. You go to schools, when they cook, munasema top layer. Top layer ni nini? Is the concentration of all the rubbish that was in that oil coming at the top of the food. Because that oil is really bad. And these children are being told, don't go on strike. I am not advocating they should go on strike. All I'm saying is, if what our children are getting is really good, let us start with parliamentarians taking their children for lunch in these schools unannounced. Let us start with having a day. UPS, if you have a son who is 17, 18, take him to spend a night. By the way, what they've done, beyond starching them in dormitories, they don't allow you to see because they put them in triple deckers.
Yes.
Triple deckers. So tunasema wewe minister of education, you think you can make noise at people? Take your child to go and sleep in triple decker. Alala hiyo juu aote vile anaotanga kwa hiyo kitanda yake 5-star. Ataanguka na kichwa chini.
Or in the corridor.
Even sleeping is a skill. You just have to learn how to arrange your body properly because unalala huko juu kama nyani. So we cannot come and demonize our children and say they are bad. We have terrible leadership at the helm of the Ministry of Education that is not in touch with the challenges that our young children are going through. And I have to sit here as their advocate and speak for them and say, our children are having problems. And their problems are genuine. They are not mad. They need someone who will listen to them. They need someone who will be empathetic. Put yourself in their shoes.
And somebody
their
who
toilets
perhaps
are pathetic.
Well, let's not even get there, because somebody who will then create a balance between, because we do know at the same time, and this is one thing that has been used as an excuse, the children that we're dealing with. Let's take high school boarders. Leave alone the fact that, we're putting children in boarding school at the age of 9, which for me is a whole different conversation. But here we are. Let's look at high school boarders between the age of 13 and then 18. Right? That these in these adolescent years, they're still forming, they're still socializing. This is the secondary level of socialization for these children. So we can understand that sometimes they can make this up, but there's some fundamentals that you cannot run away from when they open their mouths to say certain things that we have for the longest time said children should be seen and not heard. But in this case, we are saying, come on, the way the world has changed, for goodness sake, you introduced an entire curriculum that depends on them speaking their mind, and then you want to muffle their voices later on. We can understand that there are people who will be over demanding, but if you get the general consensus across board being basic things like, listen to us, that for God's sake we should not shower with dirty water. For goodness sake, can we have a meal that makes sense?
I saw kids who said
can we have
they go to the river for water.
Can we have Fanya Mambo? Can we in June let us be very clear about some things here? That there are children today who are saying that in a class, because we know that there are some schools who admitted 1,200 grade 10 this year.
Yes.
They're sitting a major KNEC exam this month, this June.
Yes.
They don't have the books. The same PS was in Nakuru, and he said, by that time, you will have the books. Today is the 8th of June. Those books are not there. How do we reconcile these things without saying that children are just being over-demanding and that they're making a lot of noise? If one of the things they complain about is the books. It's not even about the weevils, it's the books. They're saying, okay, fine, give us the books that we need to write this exam, and we still don't have them. What are we doing?
I think to start with, 90% of parliament is mad.
Oh, wow.
90%. There's only 10% that is sane. Explain to me why it was announced that they allocated 95 shillings per child per term. 90 days is the term. You've been given 95 shillings. That's a shilling per day. And then the same people allocated State House 48 million shillings per day. That loss-making outfit, when we were selling loss-making parastatals, I think State House should have been the first. It's a loss-making outfit where we put in money and get no value out of it. So, for me, the fact that even the Ministry for Education never raised that concern, that we have a child who is being allocated 95 shillings to maintain books, buy books, cover books, pens, biros for 90 days, and then we have a State House that is inviting Wakorinos, is inviting all sorts of people to come there and get 10,000 shillings a day, is being allocated that kind of money. The problem we have, I think, and that's why I said I want to go to Parliament, is because we shall not allow some of these things to pass on the floor of the House. They shall not simply be allowed to pass on the floor of the House. You can't begin to explain to me that you have a brain that exists in your head that allocates 95 shillings to a child to use for 90 days and 48 million shillings to State House to use in one day.
And that even the 95 shillings you're talking about does not get there on time anyway.
If it does.
And even if it did, what would it do?
What did it do?
How much is a 32-page exercise book?
I mean, the political class, they live in this country and they know these things. It is lack of political goodwill that we find ourselves in this position today. Because talk about capitation not getting to schools on time. Talk about investments in infrastructure as well. We are fighting with that. I have not seen any school that has come up in the recent years anywhere where I've lived, And this goes to speak about the leadership in the country that does not care about its people but themselves.
I think we can speak about this administration and you will get mad, I have never seen an administration that has got such great depths for bad things. You think they've sunk low, then they sink lower, then they surprise you at how much lower they can sink. And before you can even imagine, they always come up with ideas which are bad. Ideas that are terrible, and then you think they are painful, they go even deeper. So I have gotten to the place where I have said, I no longer speak to this administration. I speak to their supporters. I ask them, are you normal? Okay. Do you need psychiatric help? Is there something we can do to help you? Because when I look at some of those supporters, I tell them, I don't think William Ruto is the problem anymore. That one we all agreed as a nation. Now we are at a place where we are saying, those people who follow him are the ones who have a problem. And those are the ones we are saying, if you're counseling psychologists, ukipatana na mtu wa tutam, unamsimamisha, talk to them nicely. Don't be bad to these people. They probably are not even aware that their brains are not working very well for them. Assist them, be nice, talk to them, give them counseling, give them help. These are people who even need prayers. Because the problem is not the leaders anymore. It's those people who follow them.
I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because then we're crossing over and it becomes more subjective, that we're dealing with things that actually go deeper.
Yeah.
And then just when you thought it was safe to get out of the water, there's aerial footage that has been taken of an area around Nanyuki whereby it seems as though the construction of this quarantine and isolation facility, it continues, despite the fact that there's a court order in place where the court has given conservatory orders that you shall not continue with the construction of this place. But still...
this is where I hold the mic nicely. I think I have changed my mind about Ebola. I think as a nation, we are okay. We are comfortable. We are actually capable. Let's think about the capabilities of us as a nation. And I think I invite this Ebola now. I have stopped fighting it. Let's agree. You see, The leader of this battalion that is saying we need to have Ebola in the country is a botanist. He studied leaves and insects. He has decided to treat Ebola as one of the leaves or as one of the insects that he studied at the university. And because of that, I think then we have the capacity to handle Ebola. He's deputized by someone who spits fire at any problem that comes. Fire, see fire. So I think we can handle Ebola by just declaring fire upon it. We just be declaring fire at Ebola. Every time we see, just make a very high-pitched, Ebola, fire, see fire. We'll be able to deal with it. Now, Americans, just be comfortable when you come to this country. We want to assure you will not be hungry. We have a machine that makes 1 million chapatis every day in this country. For those who don't know, it only exists in this country. So we shall feed you. We have 1 million chapatis for you every day. And by the way, for you Americans, in Kenya, chapati goes with something called madondo. We have a lady who is called Wamavosho. She gives beans to everybody. All her problems are resolved with beans. She's from somewhere in Murang'a. So we want to assure Americans that we have enough beans for you. And by the way, beans are not bad when you have Ebola. Because zake haziivi, they cause bloating of the stomach. And when your stomach is bloated, it means that as you lose blood from all openings, there's one opening that is not going to lose blood. That is going to help us in Ebola. So we are equipped for Ebola. I dare submit to you, we have even thought about the entertainment. The world record holder for twerking, twerking. The world record holder for twerking is at the Senate. She's a senator in this country. So we are going to send her there to entertain those Americans. We have the capacity to handle this. She can go there and dance for them. She's holding it for the 3rd year in a row. She's going to entertain them there. Now, we've also got a young person. He went to this Bunge la Mwananchi University of East and Central Africa. And he studied there for 3 years, and now he has a PhD in facilities management. We sent him to try and manage one of our hospitals in Eastlands. He's doing so well. That hospital is flourishing since that young man went there. We will send him to Nanyuki to try and manage that facility for the Americans. So don't worry. We have a facilities manager, alisomea Bunge la Wananchi, akona PhD in facilities management. By the way, since he went to Mama Lucy, we've had women who did a CT scan. It showed they had one baby in the stomach. They are delivering 3 years ago. Now, finally, we also have an engineer in this country who can help us deal with corona. That engineer went to a school near South B or South C, and he left with a transcript that read a woman's name and he never noticed. And that engineer is called Mukarabati. Any problem you have with your aeroplanes, any problem you're going to have with your vehicles or anything, he's an engineer who does all sorts of engineering. He's going to karabati those things for you. So Kenya is equipped to handle Ebola. All I'm saying is bring it on. We can handle. Tunaye Oscar, Oscar. Tunaye Oscar, hamtamweza. And we have all that team. We can sing for them. They will help them to deal with this coronavirus. So Kenyans, be confident, be happy. We can feed them with 1 million chapatis. We can give them the maharagwe haivi. We have someone to entertain them. She's at Senate. She holds the world record for twerking for 3 years in a row. Guinea-Wase retain, and so on and so forth. So let Corona come. It's Ebola. We'll deal with it. We'll deal with it. There's no need of fighting. What I'm trying to say in many words is, this is happening during the subsistence of a court order.
Yes, it is.
All they're trying to tell you is, to them, court orders are papers, which they have no respect for. And they don't care to respect those papers. So whatever we do, we are doomed. We are doomed. They will do it.
Fanya Mambo.
Yeah.
You are a lawyer.
Yes.
Court orders are not suggestions.
To them, they are.
The country today that is investing or setting up that facility, when a judge speaks in the United States of America, everybody listens to it, including the president of that country. Why is it that when a court speaks in Kenya, the nation that respects court order at home does not listen to judges in Kenya? Is it because the leadership of the country has allowed that? Is it because the United States has seen how we have disrespected our court orders that they see no reason of respecting them?
I told Kenyans, whom did you vote for, by the way? You guys, whom did you vote for? Why are you aware of what you were voting for? Because this is what you brought upon yourselves. I keep saying I voted for Azimio because I saw this malady. This was a disaster coming. It was a catastrophe. It was the highest form of evil that would have ever been meted upon this nation. And if you think you've seen bad, you haven't seen bad. So I'm just telling Kenyans, unfortunately, kuna mahali inafikanga hata sisi hatuna nguvu. Nguvu inaisha because this Kenya Kwanza administration is doing so many bad things on all fronts. By the time you're dealing with this one, they are doing this one. In fact, it gets to a place first you take a break to observe. If you read yesterday's Business Daily, there's an article there now. The country has decided they've sold everything. They've sold parastatals. They've sold. The only thing remaining they haven't sold is your data available on eCitizen. And they go on the papers and say now they want to sell your data. Wameuza kila kitu. Wamekopa kila mahali. Go to yesterday's, and I'm talking of Sunday, Business Daily. There's a whole article there on how government is going to sell the data, your data on eCitizen. Hiyo tu ndio kitu imebaki. Then the last thing they're going to sell is what? They'll come for your slippers. That's when we shall wake up and realize we don't have a country here. So that's where we are. If you're thinking court orders is a big problem, they have conjured another evil scheme to sell your data to NGOs and companies that need data. Of course, they'll tell you, Araida, you're not going to sell your personal information. Who told you? Who told you? If they can wake up and sell Kenya Pipeline, a very strategic national asset, and they don't feel a pinch about it, who told you they won't end up selling your personal data? That's the only rider they are putting there.
To what end? Because for a sale to happen, for a sale to happen, there is an exchange, right? And there's money that comes in. Where does it go? You should then be able to see where all of these things go. Education, perhaps the odd road here and there. The infrastructure fund, we're already being told that, it's going to set up mega infrastructure in the country. We're told that this is where all of these things are going, Fanya Mambo.
But we have seen, it's in people's houses. That was just a tip of the iceberg. That's a very small guy in the grand scheme of things. So you can imagine what the other guys have. These are guys who have containers of money. That was just a small player in the game of those who have money. We have better players in the game. And you can imagine there are people with containers of money in this country. This thing of saying that we are not able to pay debt, no. I keep saying, and this is where I completely disagree with those people who say we are not going to pay debt. I keep reminding Kenyans that 65% of our debt is borrowed locally and internally. And what I mean by locally, when you go and buy a treasury bond, when you go and buy this kind of, the government things, you go and buy a T-bill, what you are doing is you are lending to government. So when you hear irresponsible leaders saying, we are not going to pay debt, we shall never pay debt, I usually submit as Fanya Mambo Kinuthia. I will not let a Kenyan who has worked so hard and invested in treasury bills go unpaid. What we need is a rational conversation about debt. And to start saying he worked for 50 years, he came and invested 1 million shillings or 2 million shillings in T-bills. And then there's someone who is coming to say, we don't owe, we are not going to pay. I think Kenya owes. And Kenya needs to pay. But we shall pay the right people. And we shall start with our local people. The people who we owe locally. We owe some of our banks. Some of them are thieves, we know. But some of our banks have also lent genuinely. So there's a lot of interest in our debt that people don't want to talk about. More than 60% of our debt is locally borrowed. And we have to be responsible when we speak about not paying debt. Because what you are doing is you're discouraging somebody who wanted to invest in government tomorrow. I keep telling people the least indebted nation in the world is Somalia. The other least indebted country in the world is Zimbabwe. Countries like Japan are indebted to the tune of 241% of their GDP. The US is indebted to the tune of 120% of their GDP. The UK more than 100%. Germany about 95% of their GDP. We are indebted to the tune of 68% of our GDP. And by the way, the richest company in the world is Volkswagen. They are the most indebted company in the world, followed by Toyota. They are the second most indebted company in the world. The poorest companies in this world, ni tuingine tumeregister hapa business services. Zenye they owe nobody, but they also have nothing. So let's not present debt as a very bad thing. It's a conversation that people never want to have. Do you want to be like Somalia that nobody can lend to? Or do you want to be like Zimbabwe that is not indebted? Maybe they're indebted to the tune of 4%. I would rather be like Japan, that is indebted to the tune of 241% of their GDP.
But then there is a requisite.
But what they do, theirs is 241%. Those guys who are telling you debt is bad, like the US, are indebted to the tune of 121% of their GDP.
But you can see what they do with it. Is this
That's
the reason?
exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
That we shall have a responsible conversation about debt. This populist conversation that people want to throw us and say we are not going to pay, we won't pay, debt is bad. Who told you debt is bad? Debt is good if it goes to the right use. Debt is good if it is handled by people who mean well. Debt is not an entirely bad thing, but also let us not kill the investor confidence in this country. If we come and tell Kenyans we are not going to pay debt, they will never buy treasury bills. They'll never buy treasury bonds. They'll never invest in government. I am a person who is looking at becoming a member of parliament in an opposition that is going to form government. And we don't want to have a government that can't have funds to run, or a government that even Kenyans don't have confidence in. So we have to build that confidence and tell you, for the genuine debt that we owe, we will pay. For the debt that it was acquired illegally, did not hit this country, was not used for this country, we will not pay.
Fanya Mambo, these are conversations that each and every single Kenyan must have. Whether you're talking about wastage that we see both in national and county governments, whether we talk about the education crisis that we find ourselves in today, we talk about the health situation, Ebola, and also just our overall healthcare system in the country. These are conversations that each and every single Kenyan must be invested in. Do you reckon that Kenyans are having these conversations? Because we will have this conversation in the studio, but kwa ground, are Kenyans speaking?
The country that is losing 30,000 Kenyans to malaria every year, the country that is losing 10,000 Kenyans to pneumonia every year, the country that is losing 25,000 Kenyans to cancer every year, the country that is losing these thousands of people to things like dysentery, diarrhea, amoeba, is the country that has invited Ebola upon itself. 30,000 of you, kakitu kanaitwa mosquito, you can't manage. It's killing 30,000 of you. Now you brought yourselves Ebola. Pneumonia too. Hii pneumonia tu inaletwa sijui na nini, it's a bacteria, but we tend to believe it's cold. We can't manage that. And we are here inviting Ebola upon ourselves. I think the conversations in health are supposed to be in that direction. That if you go to any level 4 hospital today, and you don't find a ward where people are sharing a bed, just come for 10,000 shillings. It's that simple. And that's the nation that is saying we're equipped to handle Ebola. Because they have somebody who will shout fire, see fire at Ebola, and another one who thinks that they are an engineer in everything. I think when we send such wrong people to go and represent us at the table, that's what I'm trying to say. That some of the people who we are debating on whether we should have Ebola or not are twerking experts. Others are engineers who left school with a result slip that read the name of a lady and they never discovered. Others are here, they declare fire upon everything. Others are botanists and they are telling us that Ebola is good for us. So what do? We leave it to them. Others, the only university they went to is Bunge la Mwananchi, and now they are running a whole hospital. And Mungu saidia.
So, I would like us to just, you stay with us for a few more minutes after 9 o'clock. We're going to go to the news. But some of the things that we need to talk about is the democratization of opinion. And over the last couple of weeks, few days, it's been clear that the voice of Kenyans doesn't matter. And how are you going to take from that feeling and to then say that your voice must be heard when it's been made very clear? 2 instances that have been spoken of in the last few days where the president said he allowed a certain thing to happen in a democratized state. That he allowed something to happen of a nature like this. So we could be talking about Ebola today. Yeah, he's just one of the examples. Yes. The other example is the CS for Health, Aidan Duale, said, we don't need to consult the citizens. This is a matter. We will not. We will not consult. This is not about your opinion or anything. Basically throwing it back in your face and saying, we're not having this conversation with you. We have done something and that is the way it's going to go. So when we talk about spaces where you talk about Kenyans need to actually be involved in these conversations and the powers that be, and I put those air quotes up because if the power is in the people and the people are sovereign and the people have basically been told we don't need your opinion on these matters that could essentially affect you, then you want to ask the question, where are you going? And everybody's been shouting and touting about that in the next year you need to vote, you need to speak, you need to have your voice. Well, surprise, surprise. The folks in the driver's seat are telling you, well, your voice can be yours at the dinner table and not necessarily out in the open. We'll come back and we'll talk about this a little bit, because then the question is today, if you're going to have an opinion about some of the things that are happening in the country and you're being told that your voice doesn't matter, where exactly do you sit? We'll take a break now. We're going to go to the news and come back and discuss some of these issues. And like I said, it's the state of the nation, and there are many, many, many things that seem to be boiling at the same time. We'll go through them with a fine-tooth comb right after this. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. 7 people have died while 27 others sustained serious injuries after the motor vehicles they were traveling in got involved in a grisly road accident along the Nairobi-Mombasa highway. Police said the 7 died on the spot following the accident that occurred at Mulima Q near ACK area in Salama Makueni County. The accident, according to police, involved multiple motor vehicles, a truck, a bus, 2 saloon cars and a motorcycle. Police responded to the incident, processed the scene and removed the bodies to a local mortuary pending autopsy and identification. Eyewitnesses say that some of the victims were in critical condition when they were admitted to the hospital. And in another tragedy, detectives in Nyando sub-county, Kisumu County, are investigating the death of a 12-year-old boy who is suspected to have drowned in a man-made water pan in Awasi. The incident was reported last evening after police responded to the scene, said a grade 8 pupil at Awasi Comprehensive Primary School had gone missing at around 3 p.m. Concerned relatives and residents launched a search for the boy and later discovered his sandals floating on the surface of a nearby water pan, raising fears that he had drowned. A local diver was called to assist and entered the water pan, where he successfully retrieved the body. And the weight of the law should build society, not destroy it further, a priest has said in the wake of the recent ruling to decriminalize romantic teenage relationships. Reverend Moses Kimani, an Anglican church in Kenya, priest based in Nairobi, welcomed the decision that prohibited the automatic criminalization of consensual close-in-age teenage sexual relationships, noting that previous frameworks unfairly burdened boys. Kimani further says the judgment delivered by Justice Bahati Mwamuye must not be the final word, nor should it be misunderstood as a judicial license for sexual behavior among minors. And President William Ruto has left for a 3-nation European tour covering Belgium, Norway and Finland in a diplomatic mission aimed at attracting investment, expanding export markets for Kenyan goods and strengthening economic cooperation with European countries. State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed says the visit seeks to deepen trade relations and unlock new opportunities for Kenyan producers and exporters, particularly in agriculture, manufacturing, logistics, renewable energy, clean technology and value addition. In Belgium, the president is expected to hold talks on trade and investment, whereas in Norway, he'll hold talks on renewable energy, electric mobility, the blue economy, and climate-smart agriculture. The tour will conclude with a state visit to Finland at the invitation of President Alexander Stubb following his earlier visit to Kenya in May 2025. And in the international scene, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has unveiled a sweeping package of immigration reforms aimed at tightening border control, strengthening law enforcement and combating corruption as the government moves to curb illegal migration, while warning against the vigilante action. Now, speaking on Sunday, Ramaphosa said the reforms are intended to restore order in the immigration system while upholding constitutional values. He cautioned citizens and groups against taking enforcement into their own hands. Under the new measures, authorities will intensify crackdowns on employers who hire undocumented foreign nationals, introducing tougher penalties for repeat offenders, including possible imprisonment. Ramaphosa said fines alone are no longer sufficient deterrent, particularly in cases involving exploitation of vulnerable workers. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Coming in at 5 minutes after 9 o'clock, we continue our conversations. But before that, Dennis tells us that folks who've got experience 60 years, then are probably the ones who you want to listen to when it comes to your future.
Yes, because you see, here is where experience matters, and experience comes in with the surety and safety that you're looking forward to. So here we're talking about even if you are outside the country, so you are outside the country, abroad, and you're saving up, paying school fees for your loved ones, you are having biashara here, but you're also saying, at the end of it all, even when I come back home, I just want to ensure that those that I'm supporting as well will be able to enjoy this beyond me, you know? So they're telling you it's not just for those who are within the borders of Kenya. Even if you are outside, you are able to get into this plan. What plan are we talking about? The Britam Whole Life Plan. Now, with this, your loved ones will receive immediate tax-free financial support, and that will help them stay secure even in your absence. So what do you need to do? You need to send a message to 21778 with what? With the name Life and the name of your town, and you will be able to get assistance from that. But that notwithstanding as well, because we know we have the youngins who are on WhatsApp, you need to send a message to 0705 100 100 or call the very same number 0705 100 100. Someone's going to pick that up. They will talk you through it all, because we talk about 60 years of Britam in this business. They will take care of investment so that you sleep better at night, and even when you're gone, you still rest in peace, because it is not about if, it is when.
It's definitely when, that's for sure. We continue our conversation with Fanya Mambo this morning, and so just looking into certain things that we see continue to happen in the country, as we look at the state of things and how we ought to deal with them. And how we ought to deal with them. One of these things is that people say, well, the voice of the people must come through. The voice of the people must be heard. The voice of the people then must be exercised through the ballots that's coming next August, etc., etc. The voice of the people seems to not be a factor to the people who currently hold the reins of power, because at least on 2 occasions in the last 1 week, the voice of the people has been kind of crumpled up and thrown into the dustbin, where the president said very clearly, I allowed this, I made the decision. So in case you are wondering who allowed them, it was me. Secondly, the CS in Parliament, interestingly enough, before the people who make the law, said we don't need citizenship. Remember, public participation is a fundamental part of the new constitution. But he basically said, Constitution who? Sit over there in the corner. We don't need participation here. We took the decision unilaterally. How does that look for the people who now you're telling to bring their voice next
My answer to Duale and the president is simple. If you don't need to consult us, don't use our money. Okay? As long as you're using your own money, it's okay. Go ahead. But they do whatever. As long as it's the president's personal money and Duale's money. But as long as you intend to use our taxes, our money, our policemen, our resources, our vehicles, anything that belongs to the state, then we must be involved and we must be consulted. So it is actually okay to wake up and say you don't need to consult. And that is on matters relating to your house and your family. But on matters relating to this country, on matters that have got to do with our resources, on matters that have got to do with our taxes, on matters that have got to do with our health. Remember, this is not Duale's health at risk. It is the health of the nation at risk. Then you must consult us. And you know, sometimes they tend to think that because hatujaenda maandamano, we are not angry enough. In our hearts of hearts, sisi tunaandamana. Hata tukiwa tumeketi hapa tunaandamana. And we feel the pinch and we are angry at this administration. It's just that we don't have the energy to go on the streets every other day when they commit these atrocious things that they do. But let them know that we are disappointed with them, we are dissatisfied with them, we are angry with them, and the decisions they are making are not for our own benefit. I wish he was saying, I have decided that every school now should have extra classrooms and I don't need to consult you. That's a good thing. It's for the benefit of the nation. But when you're bringing us something that, you know, by the way, what President William Ruto and Aden Duale have done, there is no difference between that and committing genocide. This is a presidency that is committing genocide upon its own citizens. When you see how fast Ebola spreads and how disastrous that thing is, and how many human beings it can potentially take out within a very short time, then you realize that there's no difference between what they are doing and a man who comes with a machine gun and just kills the citizens. Because this is a person taking the fastest, most painful, most ugly, most dehumanizing way of killing citizens and bringing it upon the nation.
Even as ugly as
wondering
that,
where you guys are making noise.
Even as ugly as that looks, I must still ask the question. I've asked this and I'm still unable to reconcile to an answer. Why the insistence? It's not about caring for another nation sick. It's not about that. Because then I would have to ask, what about the Kenyans who are in the DRC who may be affected? Who's taking care of them? It's not about that, because then I also want to know how many other facilities, where are they? Apart from the one in Laikipia, where are they? They've not been able to tell us until today where they are. So what else? There's something beneath that we still don't seem to be able to get. What is that thing for this insistence to be so heavy?
We are already insisting that Kenya is losing 30,000 Kenyans to malaria every year, and 10,000 Kenyans to pneumonia every year, and 25,000 Kenyans to cancer every year. I think this is where our focus would have been on. That, 60 years after independence, we are still losing people to malaria. Then we have now a pandemic that we don't need being brought upon us. And it's being heavily pushed down our throats. And we have to accept whether we like it or not. Nanyuki Air Base does not belong to the president. It's a state resource. It belongs to all of us collectively. And therefore, it should be run with the benefit of Kenyans in mind. Remember, this is where we see our jets are put. In case of an invasion in the country, that's where they are supposed to respond from. So should we compromise that and then every other person there has got Ebola? Would our pilots deal with Ebola, or would they be dealing with an external threat to our existence? And sometimes even also, I keep saying I wish, sometimes I read, wanasema ndege inayopita mbele yako mtukufu rais. Then you Google about that plane. And then you realize that some of the countries we've been insulting, like Russia, that one can only be used for crop irrigation around there. So I think let us be a nation that means well for its people. And you can only do that by making choices that are people-centered. People first. People first. People first.
Fanya Mambo, based off what the Constitution's requirements are, that public participation must be held, must be an exercise that is undertaken on any decision that is being made. And you're hearing individuals saying, we will not do that. I agreed, And in the event that Ebola gets to infect citizens in the country based off an exercise that never went through public participation, then everybody else in that chain who agreed for that facility to be held there, for Kenyans to be affected, then must be held liable in accordance to the law?
My thinking is that when we take over government next year and we sure will, we need to sue these people, prosecute them for these crimes, because this is a crime. This is criminal when you come with genocidal ideas against a nation. Because how else do you explain when you bring a catastrophe that can destroy a whole country?
Yeah.
The Americans have studied Ebola so much. They are so threatened. They are so afraid of it. They don't want it in their soil. So bad is it to them to the extent that they're even giving travel advisories against those countries that are even coming close to Ebola. So not only do they have a problem with their own, and you know the way Americans protect their citizens, they have a problem with their own citizens landing in the US, having come from the DRC, because they could take Ebola there. And then you have a country that does not have the means, that doesn't have the kind of hospitals that the US has, inheriting that thing and saying it. So when we take over government, one of the first things we want to do is to tell them, because you said no public participation, and because you said you have made the decision, let us then say, therefore, it is your decision. And then we charge you in court and say it was never a public decision, it was your decision, so they should take personal responsibility for it. Yeah.
So as we get into the politics, because all of these things contribute to a mindset that will come to play out when people go to cast their vote in 2027, or one would hope that all of these things are taken into consideration. One of the issues that has come out for a lot of people clearly is that there is lack of knowledge about the things that should actually be happening in country when it comes to state officers and possibly elected officials. The Speaker of the National Assembly was very busy this past weekend talking about garnering support for 2032 for himself. Unless I heard him wrongly.
Yes.
Garnering support for himself in 2032. Last I checked, he is not in a position whereby he can be politicking for anything because he's got a job to do. Does this paint a picture of where Kenya is at the moment, when certain things just seem to go? Court orders, be damned, constitution, put that in a corner, or business as usual?
You see, we stopped taking Wetangula seriously. All of us, even his own people in parliament don't take him seriously.
How so? Why?
Because he's not in touch with what Kenyans are saying. Kenyans are saying that the reign of this administration comes to an end in 2027 at the ballot.
Yeah.
He's saying that he's campaigning for presidency in 2032. Because according to his lostness, he thinks William Ruto is going to be president again in 2027. He's so lost in that gap. That's why he's now campaigning for 2032. Because to him, it's a foregone conclusion. He thinks that William Ruto will win again in 2027. So, and we are telling him he's lost it. Because in 2027, for all we know and all we are concerned as Kenyans, is we are taking William Ruto home through the ballot. And we have always prayed that we have that chance to, we fill those ballots with our votes that are an anti-Ruto vote. Just telling him, look here, we wanted to show you that you are elected democratically and we have removed you democratically. So that he can hand over power peacefully. And that's going to be the hallmark of his legacy. We are not going to remember anything else. The only thing we pray is that he hands over power peacefully. Yeah.
So so beyond the what you call disillusionment, should this actually be happening? We don't because somebody welcomed him when he was out having this conversation with I don't know how many numbers of sectors of people. Somebody welcomed him, but in that position, he shouldn't actually be there, or those things don't matter anymore.
The people he was addressing are part of the 10,000, are part of the 30,000 who are dying of malaria every year. The people he was addressing are part of the ones whose children are in congested classrooms. The people he was addressing are part of the ones who've been given 95 shillings as capitation for school. The people who he was addressing are part of the ones who you've seen more than 180,000 children are not in school.
Yes.
Those ones were part of it. The people who was addressing are part of those, luckily they're in the rural areas, who are eating 1 meal a day like an animal. So those people had other bigger problems than Wetangula becoming president in 2032. If he had taken time to ask them, what is your problem? They would have told him that nowadays we are not able to feed our families well. They would have told them SHA is not working. They would have told him very many things that are close to their hearts. But Mudavadi is talking about 2032 to people who are not even sure they'll be alive in 2032 because they have medical bills and they have their own people in hospital and they have hospitals that don't even have drugs to start with. And he's talking of 2032.
Fanya Mambo, why is it that as Kenya, we are easy to let nonsense and disrespect of rule of law continue. Where am I going with this? You find the law clearly stipulates that as a state officer, you are not supposed to campaign. You are a political. It's the reason why you find the experts who got to office had to resign from their political positions for them to get there. But you find these are the very same individuals who we find in political rallies donning political party colors, speaking on behalf of political parties. Yet we are in a country where we say it is a progressive constitution, we have the ODPP, we have the EACC, but they never seem to act on these issues. Why are we letting a lot of nonsense pass?
You see, you cannot separate this government from that kind of nonsense, because this is what people voted for, unfortunately. They voted for administration that had no agenda other than to make the lives of Kenyans difficult, to loot money, and to amass wealth. And that's what they are doing. So they are even surprised that you are asking them questions. They're wondering, they thought it's our time to eat, because primarily that's what they went there for. And therefore, you are making noise at them when they are eating. You are disturbing them when they are looting from you. These people have got no interest whatsoever in helping this nation in any way, shape or form.
But what does this speak to institutions that we pay for to do that job? EACC on ethics. We talk about ODPP on the respect of law. They are quiet in all this. Does it mean that they are as well mouthpieces for the bad manners?
I don't think that they have a choice. I think if you went to EACC today, the problems they have received in these 5 years of this Ruto administration, they have never received in 20 years. Do you know everything that could go wrong is going wrong? At the same time, I mean, people call me every day because they see me going to TV. People send me messages every day about things that are going wrong. But I'll be you guys, I only have one life and I only have one mouth and I can only be in one place at one time. And I can only carry 2 or 3 messages in a day. I don't get anything less than 15 suggestions of things that are terrible that are happening that I should talk about on a daily basis. So this administration took a list of all the good things they need to do. They tore it down. Then they took a list of all the terrible things they need to do. And then they asked, can these things get even worse? And that's what they are working on. That's what they're implementing every day. And that's where we have the challenge. So in as much as we want to address EACC, the police, everything, how do you address all these things? The capacity is limited. Yeah, the people who are bringing bad stuff are too many, and the people who are supposed to resolve the bad stuff are too few. Yeah.
Is it enough to then say that then people who believe that they can come in and change the situation should then put themselves up for election? Is that enough, or is that one way to then be able to solve some of these issues?
I've been telling Kenyans there are 289 constituencies remaining. Dagoretti South nilichukua hiyo msikuja kunisumbua huko. These 289 constituencies are waiting for us. And I think it's incumbent upon us to start saying who are the right people we are going to put in these 289. I keep saying there's a 5 to 10% of parliament that should come back. You know, people who have shown that they have the moral credulity to run the nation, and people who mean well, and people who are fighting for us. You Kenyans know them and you can see them. But then the rest of the lot needs to be swept out. And parliament is where the action is. I am telling Kenyans, hata ukipoteza hizi zingine, let us not get parliament wrong, and let us not get the county assemblies wrong. We can't afford to make a mistake at parliament and at county assemblies. If we get those institutions right, this nation will go in the right direction.
But Kenyans are asking the question, even in 2022, they trusted. They trusted that using the charters that they sat together with the UDA government, they trusted that those charters would be implemented. They were sold,
not a strategy.
They were sold ideas and a promise that they believed in. And right now, everybody else who's coming in is as well selling a promise that they would do better. How then should Kenyans measure who to trust and who not to trust?
I've always told Kenyans, don't judge me on the mistakes of your ex. Because you'll come and say, oh, my ex was a terrible man, oh, my ex. So now you don't want to love me, you don't want to trust me because your ex was bad to you. Why are you punishing me for the mistakes of your ex? You know, assess me as me. Nimekuja nimejitetea kama Fanya Mambo. I've said nice things to you. I have taken you for dinner. I am serious about engaging you. I want to marry you. I want to have a relationship with you. I want us to have children. And then you keep telling me that your ex was bad. Your ex also lied. I was not your ex. I am me. Now take me for me. And that's what I'm telling even the people of Dagoretti South. You know your ex, even your current boyfriend is mistreating you, saying bad things, you know, they are not in touch with reality and so on and so forth. But please, I am not your current boyfriend. Mimi nakukatia fresh. You know, Mr. Right has come. So don't punish Mr. Right because Mr. Wrong was there. Just be nice to me because I'm being nice to you. Let's give me a chance to come and try. We start a new relationship. Na tukikaka usiku unanikumbusha, even my ex used to do this. No, I mean, be nice to me. Let's have an opportunity to start afresh. You know, you can be happy. Hata kama ufikisha 40 years, we know. Kenya is now 60 something. You can still be loved. Kuna maisha iko hapo mbele imetungojea.
Many people would say that maybe the president also was in the same situation. He never had an opportunity to be president before and says, okay, well, the same thing that you're putting him, saying that don't treat me like that, is the same way that folks are saying, well, you know, give him a chance.
I am happy that people have stopped asking whether I stand a chance. I don't know whether you realize now, nowadays everywhere I go on stations, they're not asking me that you don't, they're asking me. Now because we have decided we are going to trust you, give us an assurance that you will do the right thing. And that's why I'm here to tell Kenyans, I think we need to make a covenant. And I need to tell you one thing. From where I am sitting as Fanya Mambo Kinuthia, do you know that we don't even need a brand new agenda for this country? If we say resist, the agenda is to resist the temptation to import 500,000 metric tons of rice. That alone saves 100,000 jobs in Moya. Resist the temptation to import sugar. That alone saves 400,000 jobs in the Western Belt. Resist the temptation to sell our oil from Turkana and just mine it here. That again creates so many jobs. There was people who had come here, they wanted to make Turkana a casino city. These are things you may not know. Wali sumbuliwa, my friend. They gave up on that idea. There are people who came here, they wanted to have an ammonia generating plant to do fertilizer. Those guys are in Angola. No, they are in Zambia, sorry. They're in Zambia now. There are people who came here, they wanted to come with a Formula 1 truck. They are doing it in Rwanda.
Not this one for Macha
here.
There are people who came here, yeah, and they wanted to set up cement. You know Dangote history. That thing is in Rwanda. If we just resist the temptation to make life difficult for people without even doing something new, watu watakuwa naona haya kampuni ya simiti imekuja, I don't know, there's a Formula 1 track. There are so many people. There are people who came here and I have met and they were so mad, who wanted to come up with a garbage recycling plant to, you know, a garbage plant for the generation of electricity. They were asked for tons of money. It ended up not happening. But they would have been selling our garbage today, selling and earning from garbage. But guess what? People were too greedy. They did not allow them to flourish. So just by resisting the temptation to make the lives of Kenyans difficult, imagine you can run this nation. Anything you see happening in Rwanda started here. I was in the UK the other day. I was taken to a go down. I was shown over 2,000 wheelchairs, walking aids and crutches. I took that videos on my TikTok. So they first took me to a small garage and then they took me to the warehouse. The warehouse I was not allowed to film, but the small garage they showed me. After every so long, people who die in the UK or people who recover and so on, those wheelchairs are put together somewhere. Kenyans put them together, put in a container. They wanted to come and donate to Kenyans who need wheelchairs here. They were so frustrated at the port, they paid $1 million in taxation. Remember, they are coming to help. By the time those things were getting to the needy, it had become so expensive for them. So what are Kenyans doing in the UK? They are collecting that stuff, they are filling it in containers, they are sending it to Rwanda. Through our port. Yes, the Rwandese are receiving them, they are doing an itemized list, and then they are going and putting them. The ministry that is in charge of all those people who have disabilities and everything, I think it's a department under the Ministry of Social Services, in Rwanda. They are giving those wheelchairs to all the needy. Here, an old man is walking with 2 mikwajos. I got walking aids in the UK that I wanted to bring here. Those people were crying tears. They were telling me, Fanya Mambo, we can't get these things to your country. So what we do is we collect them to go to Rwanda. Because if they don't go to Rwanda and the warehouse is full, they are crushed. And so a sick person here anabebwa na wheelbarrow kama gunia akipelekwa hospitali. Yet those wheelchairs would have helped. But because KRA and all these people are so keen on making money, those things never come here. They end up in Rwanda. So if we resist the temptation to make the lives of our people incredibly hard, I want you to go to my TikTok. Those videos are there. I felt so bad. I could see them. I took photos of myself with those walking aids and everything. And I remember hata hapa Dagoretti South, I know one man anendanga na mikuajo mbili na watu wa Dagoretti South wanamjua. That guy should have had a capushing walking aid. And they are there. And the Britons are ready to give us those things for free. A whole container load. I was even telling them, simunikubalishe basi tu nikuje nazo, nipatie Rotary Club or any other charitable trust, and then we come up with a way to ensure that they are not being sold, they are only being given to the needy Kenyans. My friend, you will write proposals for 3 years from here to the I don't know where. So that is the problem, that this country could progress. But we have sadists, literally sadists, who would prefer that a person continues to be pushed on a wheelchair. I know a lady who brought them, and they ended up in Njeri, but she paid 1 million shillings for bringing wheelchairs. Akasema next time, never. So anaulizanga Rwanda, are you ready? There's a consignment coming. Those ones receive. Even now, Burundi is being given. And they go through where? Here. And our sick people are on what? Wheelbarrows. But simulichagua wheelbarrow.
You know, any leadership is supposed to be pro-people. Why? Because everyone who's there is there to serve the people. We're here today talking about the manyoka that we see on the streets. But the manyoka is because it has been allowed to be there. Because on this show, we just said we do not have public service vehicles. We have private individuals offering public transport services. We do not have public that is owned by the government that would take people from one point to the other. That there is no standard that even manages those. And when you top up that together with what it is you're saying, one asks the question, the government that we have today is seemingly not pro-people. Therefore, how do we fix that, Fanya Mambo? Because I hear you speak and you're talking about how to serve Mwananchi, how to make Mwananchi be front and center. That when it comes to taxation, we are not taxing you to a pulp that you have nothing to take care of yourself. That when it comes to offering public service, I am not on private facility, but forcing you to be on a public system that I do not trust myself. How do we fix that, Fanya Mambo? Is our political system so bad that it would take the hand of God slapping people literally for it work?
Let me give you a simple example. Today we are worried about finance bill and we are worried about budget. Kenya receives 2.5 million tourists a year. Kenya makes 144 billion shillings from tourism every year. Kenya has a population of about 55 million people. Now, France has a population of 70 to 80 million people. They get 120 million tourists per year. So you can imagine how much they make. They get more tourists than their population. What are those guys going to see? The Eiffel Tower.
Yes.
And some funny things.
And the bridge with the padlock.
We who have got one of the 7 wonders of the world, the wild beast migration, have allowed a moron, a creature without a brain, to build a hotel on the path of those wild beasts. And now they are not able to move nicely. And that could change a phenomenon. There's a country in Asia where they take people and put them on small boats at night. Then they go and switch off the lights. Do you know what those guys are seeing? Glowworms.
Bugs.
Yeah. Glowworms.
Yeah.
Zikiwaka hivi. And they are making more money from tourism than we do. If only we fixed our tourism in this country, we would make not less than 5 trillion shillings a year from tourism. Hiyo si pesa tuna tax mwananchi. We are just saying, how can we start earning? A flight from Wilson to Masai Mara is more expensive than a flight from from Nairobi to Dubai. So if we fix our tourism, if we just sit and just put common sense in our tourism and start asking, where in a third world country, why are we making a tourist pay 30,000 per night in a hotel? Many of them will not come here because when I went to the UK, I lived in a hotel and I would pay the equivalent of 10,000 shillings a night. So if I can pay 10,000 shillings a night in a 5-star hotel in the UK, why would I come to Africa and pay 30,000 a night? We must fix our tourism. There are so many things we can do to make sure that Kenya earns at least, hiyo ni kuearn, hakuna kutax.
Yeah.
We were selling tea to Sudan, they were giving us 5 billion. In our wisdom or lack thereof, and I believe it is lack thereof, we decided to host rebels at KICC. You know, you are hugging rebels, you are hosting them, you are being nice to them. We lost tea business worth 5 billion shillings.
And that agreement has never come back into force.
And you know what? Now, those are farmers who've lost livelihoods and opportunities to earn. So it's just the carelessness. I don't think we should be taxing Kenyans. That is what I'm trying to answer. I think if we fix tourism, we should be asking ourselves, if tea gave us 10 shillings last year as a country, how can we make 15 or 20 shillings from tea this year? If coffee gave us 11 bob, how can Eves give us 23 bob? You know? And we start asking ourselves, 60 years after independence, why are we importing toothpick? Why are we importing underwear? Mwiko ya ugali, enda utafute ile kwa supermarket, it's made in China. Mwiko. It's not even their staple food, but they're making a mwiko for us. So if we are making this finance bill, I was hoping to see a proposal on the floor of the House that all imported mwiko duty may raise to 1,000%. Because when I was in Standard 7, I made a mwiko for art and craft. Yeah. Then the next thing is duty on toothpicks has been raised to 2,000%, so that Kenyans make their toothpicks or rot in their teeth. So those are the things I was hoping to see in the finance bill. How do we start taxing heavily, very punitively, those things that Kenyans can make? And then our industry will begin to grow. Because it takes one idiot to import a 40-foot container of toothpicks. But it would take very many Kenyans to make the number of toothpicks that would fill one 40-foot container. So I cheerfully submit to us that what we need right now is a shift in the way we are thinking and start asking, can we do government as business? If Paris is getting 120 million tourists a year to come and see a tower, when you think of how much we have, kuna watu wanaenda kuona, you know, when we were small, global, wacha niwaambie na Kikuyu, togunyo, tunawakanga hivi, right, you know, light, alafu kanazima kwa giza. There are people who are paying money to go on a boat and watch those. God has blessed us immensely as a nation. The only thing is we haven't done is we have not chosen those people who have good brains and taken them to parliament and in decision-making positions. We have this very serious addiction for dimwits.
There are solutions that have been given even in this conversation this morning. And the call is for a lot of people that, Fanya Mambo, you continue to speak out about some of these things that we discussed this morning. There's a lot of work to be done. And there's a lot of work to be done in the minds of people, also in the enactment of some of these things. But thank you for being here.
Actually, I have a plea.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm making to everybody out there who can help me. I never usually ask for help from Kenyans. But those 2,000 wheelchairs and everything else in the UK is still available. They told me they'll hold it for a month from when I left. I left the UK on the 25th. They are holding it in trust for me for a month. If there's anybody who can help me to become the consignee on this side, or, you know, we have a way around this rubbish system, and then we find a way to make sure that we go around every poor family to give them. I'm ready to sacrifice my time and energy to go back to the UK, to jazz a container, to Ilete. And then we go to the very needy. You know, some children on a wheelbarrow, some people who are, you know, those walking aids are very many. And we need them to bring them here. I don't know how we shall, but let's reach us to one another. Let us find a way. Mimi nita sacrifice nirudi huko tena. Kama tunaweza leta hiyo container and it becomes the only thing I have done for Kenya this year, me I'll be a very happy man. Nijue there is a person sitting on a wheelchair because we made it happen. There's someone pushing and walking aid because we made it happen. It's quite a tricky environment within which we can work, but I'm ready to work with every right-thinking person to see to it that that consignment gets here. Na wale wanauza hizo vitu mimi sijakuja kucompete na nyinyi. I'm not interested. I thank God I'm on my 2 feet. I don't want to ride one. And I pray I never live to ride on one. All I'm saying is there's someone who needs this stuff.
True.
And he needs to come here. Yeah.
A good way to end on this morning, and thank you for then being able to join in this conversation with us, and of course looking to moments where we can continue this conversation and speak candidly on some of these matters. Thank you very much for being here. Our conversation continues where we talk with you in just a little bit at 23 minutes to 10. Good morning, back in a bit.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
All right, 18 degrees and sunny conditions in Nairobi this morning. It is 18 and sunny into Nakuru and 17 and sunny into Njeri. 24 and sunny in Kisumu, while Kakamega will see sunny conditions at 23 currently. It's 27 and sunny through Monday in Mombasa and 28 and sunny in Malindi. 20 and sunny looking into Marsabit, while at 24 it is sunny in Kampala and at 27 sunny into Dar es Salaam. 11 and sunny into Johannesburg, while at 26 it's sunny in Lagos. It's 15 and cloudy into London, while at 27 Beijing is sunny, and it's 19 and cloudy Sunday night in New York. Coming into Monday, we'll see a high of 23 and a low of 16.
Mom, who's this letter from? Your father wrote it before he was gone. He said he'd always find a way to take care of us. And did he? Yours, your brother's school fees, every hospital bill, our rent, every month without fail.
So that's how you manage everything?
Yes. He took an insurance cover from Britam, which still takes care of our expenses even after his passing. He always thought about us. He may be gone, but his love never stopped.
Britam Whole Life Plan gives you lifetime cover and a guaranteed cash payout to your family when you pass away, so they are financially taken care of. Britam Whole Life Plan. Not if, when. Britam, with you every step of the way. Regulated by the Insurance Regulatory Authority. SMS Life. Name of your town to 21778 or visit ke.britam.com.
This May, unlock endless drama every single day on Star Times. Unrivaled stories, characters you can't forget. Recharge your monthly subscription today. More love and burning romance on Come Back to Me. Heartbreaking betrayals on Just Revenge on Novella E+. More secrets on The Brave on ST Swahili. More twists that leave you breathless on Gangs of Manila Season 3 on Novella E. Now on Nyota Bouquet on Ariel and Nova Bouquet on Dish. The drama never stops. To renew your subscription, dial *858# for self-service or get in touch with our call center on 0719-077-077 for customer care. Buy a StarTimes decoder at any of our dealer shops countrywide. Download the StarTimes On app to enjoy all your favorite shows and stream live channels on the move. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
And at 18 minutes to 10 o'clock, we go into our very last session this morning of Dear Mr. President. I know that for a lot of people think, okay, so what do you say? This is the thing. Well, now you have an opportunity to say it. It seems as though we use the same narratives all over all the time. Oh, SHA is not working. Oh, I don't know. Capitation is not enough. I don't know. There's no public participation. Oh, the voice of the people cannot be heard. And I don't know. Are those the issues? Are those actually the issues, people? Or are those symptoms of deep, inherent, systemic issues that then need to be handled when you're asking questions? And does the buck actually stop with leadership? Do you really feel, and I think that's the question that we're asking this morning, for you to tell the president? He said, you know what, guys, he has said it in not so many words, but has basically said that I cannot be the fault or the issue behind all of these problems that you guys are talking about. We are working on it, so you guys just calm down.
Yep.
Does the buck actually stop with leadership? And I think that's the question that we're asking this morning in the few minutes left that we have to do. So it'll be interesting to then pick the minds of Kenyans this morning and find out if that is actually what you feel. Or do you feel that even if it's systemic, then it doesn't matter? That you can have the Holy Trinity come in and be the president. And if it's systemic, then it's going to remain.
Yep.
But do you think that the buck actually does stop with the person who sits in the position of the utmost leadership in the country at the moment? Does that person have the power? Does that person have the resolve? Does that person have the wherewithal to change the system? To insist on a system whereby corruption is out the window, whereby the economy is developing, whereby there's protection for the people who are working, operating, going to school within the country. Does the buck actually stop with the person at the top, or is it systemic and anybody's just going to do the best they can while they're there, and then when they're not there, to the left? Do you really feel that, as you're talking to him this morning, that actually the buck does stop with him? Because if you don't, then I think you're going to have to cut him some slack.
Yeah. And I think if it's systemic and it has existed like that for a very long time, then there is fixing that needs to be there. And if we are the ones who say the buck stops with the individual who's there, yet we are the ones who are putting him there, do we ever sit down and agree on what must be done to fix the system? Because every other time we'll say Shine is not working, like you say, education is not working, capitation is not getting here, corruption is a problem, wastage continues, overtaxation is there. If the problem is the system must be fixed. Individuals that we vote in, do they have a direct express orders from 55 million of us that the system needs to be fixed, and we tax you, we task you and task you to go fix the system.
Yeah.
Because if we never have these conversations, then the individuals who get there will never see the need of fixing the system. Because remember, once you get in, the system favors the person who's in that office. Nobody ever wants to change something that removes meat from their mouth.
Very true. So then are people excused then by saying that the tone is set from the top? All these things that we like to say, the tone is set from the top, the fish rots from the head, the buck stops with you, all of those things that we say. Do we have then do we reserve the right to say those things and say, Nana, the person who is driving this bus, matatu, boat, ship, is the one who's responsible for where it takes us? Because I think about it like a matatu or whatever public service vehicle that's supposed to be going from here to there. You can switch drivers halfway into the journey. But if the driver ends up taking you somewhere, the new driver that comes in ends up taking you somewhere that was not on that board, whatever, when you left where you were coming from, ends up taking you somewhere else, whose responsibility is it? Is it the vehicle that found its way, or was somebody steering the thing that took you to Nanyuki instead of Narok, for example?
Can't blame the vehicle.
Can you blame the vehicle and say this thing was, or was somebody moving the thing? Because it's a system.
Yes.
Gears, brakes. There's a system at the stage whereby the placard on the thing, you're next in line. Everybody now goes, right?
Yes.
But then halfway along the journey, you change the driver. Is it the driver who remains? Who is it? The driver that you will now say, excuse me, all these people have ended up in Narok. We were going to Nanyuki. Do you blame the system and say, no, but in Nairobi, when we left, we all knew where we were going. But somewhere along the line, the driver changed. So who takes responsibility for where these people ended up?
It's got to be the driver. Okay. You know why? Because when you take a plane today, right, you don't know where you're going. All you know is there is someone called the pilot and the first officer who understand the coordinates to switch everything else to land you where you're supposed to go. You don't know.
Just have a ticket and a boarding pass.
You're just up there enjoying the views. You're just seeing clouds, right?
Yeah.
In the event that the pilot sleeps, it's the first officer who takes charge.
Or if you crash.
Okay, there's that too.
God forbid.
Right? So at the end of the day, you trust that the pilot will land you at your destination. If they decide to change the coordinates and take you to another station, it is because they have made that decision to take you there, right? So
are we saying that everything that happens along that way, when this vehicle is trying to get from point A to point B, and then you change the driver or the pilot or whatever halfway, that everything that happens then is his or her fault.
Because they have taken the responsibility to ensure that you get to the destination. They swore to land you on that airport. They promised you they will take you there.
Yeah, they said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board. This is the captain, Nani speaking, and we're going to on this blah blah.
Thank you. Because they have given you the promise and you trusted them to take you there, right? And this is where then, as much as people at the back will make the decision to trust them, it is their responsibility to fulfill that trust. You get what I mean? It is why before a pilot gets in, what do? They do the safety checks.
Yes, they do.
The landing gear as well.
Then they come back and tell you that all the people have done the safety checks and we're now ready for takeoff.
And they sign on a book.
Cross-check.
Because then they've checked on the system to say everything that will enable me fulfill your promise is okay. His responsibility is to land you. But if he goes and checks that there was
to actually take you along the way and land.
Yes. If they check that there was a hydraulic system that is broken and is leaking, if they choose then to proceed with that journey, with that fault, he did not check that the system was up to par.
To whom or with whom? Is it to whom? Hey, today was a hard day.
With whom?
With whom?
Or to whom?
With whom does the responsibility lie when we're talking about all of this? Because we've shouted this in the last few weeks. But then, see, the president, His Excellency, said the other day that I took the decision. I allowed, I did. See, then he's now taking the responsibility that everybody's been throwing at him all this time and saying the buck stops with you. When we see things going all right, it is you. It is you. So we're asking the question this morning as we speak to dear Mr. President that yes, we agree the buck stops with you, or does it not? Are there other people who are involved in this process that we should also be pointing fingers at? Because if you look at the 22 man and woman strong system that you have put in place, nominated by yourself, appointed by Parliament, and then getting into this driver's seat with you, it was you who said this is the best man or woman for the job. And so they've joined you in addition to 2 or 3 advisors here or there. And you said that these are the people who are going to be able to do that. So when things go wrong in health, education, road network, the economy, boom, fires in school, I don't know, Ebola, water not flowing, infrastructure problem, corruption issues, insecurity, problems with the neighbors, extrajudicial killings and disappearances, knock knock, good morning the Standard. I don't know, we say all these things at the same time. Who do we point to? Who do we ask? Excuse me, who's driving this thing? And can we get off? That's the question. And we're saying, is it the person who's driving the thing that we're going to be asking the questions, or is it somebody else that we should be asking? And that's the question that we're asking you. We're going to take a couple of your comments in a bit, and maybe we'll take a few phone calls if we have enough time for it. But just in case, that number is 0732142650 or 0732142653. To hear from you this morning, are we fair in saying, because it's a lot, isn't it? I think about it and I say, wow, man, me, I'm the president of my house. And sometimes I feel like I'm going mad. Now, somebody's the president of, even say, the area, like the chief, and there's so many things, so many balls up in the air. Then you think, wow. Then you think, okay, somebody's the president of the constituency or the county. Then you say, wala la la la. Now you put all of those things together, plus then somebody's the president of the country, managing the things that are happening inside there, plus managing relationships that are happening regionally, continentally, globally, having to have a say. Then you must even travel. See, it's enough to make man mad. Then I think, wow, that's a lot. So is it fair that you put all of that responsibility on one person? Then somebody says, see, you asked for it.
You asked for it.
You said that you can do it.
Yeah.
So then if something goes wrong,
you take responsibility.
We reserve the right of placing the responsibility on your shoulders.
Because remember, the system we're talking about here, let's take presidency, for example. He's up there, right? And everybody else, the 22-man woman cabinet that he puts in place, is the system we're talking about. There are those who are the landing gears. There are those who are the yoke. There are those who are the cabin, there are those who are the toilet where people go to use. Everything in there makes that plane move. That means if a yoke does not work, right, it is the responsibility of that captain to say, the yoke is not working, I'm unable to move, we have to fix it. That means the yoke I'm talking about is, if healthcare is not working, you look at the yoke that is not making that healthcare work, and you have to replace it or deal with it or to repair it for that healthcare to work. When we talk about Ebola, we do not want it. And the hydraulic system that makes that Ebola get into the country despite the constitution, then it is your responsibility as the captain to ensure that the hydraulic system that is leaking is fixed.
Smokey Bandit says that if the vehicle has come preloaded, it's already been uploaded, and the driver just comes in and is just driving this vehicle that has already come with certain software, then it's the vehicle's problem.
Let me tell you,
pointing to a systemic issue that needs to be handled.
But here's the thing, as the driver, the first thing you get into a vehicle when you go for testing, what are you told?
So you check the thing.
Adjust your seat. Belt on, look at
check
your
rear view mirror, side mirror.
Ensure you have fuel that is full. Ensure that you do not have a check engine, and ensure that the vehicle basically is safe. That means you have knowledge of what it is you're driving. If it is a software problem, you must be conversant with the software that works for you to say, this software does not work for me, therefore I'm unable to drive this vehicle. You should be in a position to say, this does not work for me as the driver. But you as the driver with the software that is not working and you choose to drive it, then you and the software, same problem, same WhatsApp group, I am the admin, eject.
Well, okay, we see some calls coming in. We'll take some of them, and then we'll also go to socials and see what's going on there. Should I remind you of the number? It's 0732-142-650, 0732-142-653. That you're responsible for the checks. Usually, it's crazy. I like to watch these documentaries whereby certain things happen, plane crashes, and then they look for the black box and they look for the last thing that the pilot said in terms of who's going to take responsibility for all this. It'll be interesting to see who they call at the last stop. Let's hear from some of you. We hear from James in Rongai this morning. Hello, James. Good morning.
Hi, morning.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you? How was your weekend?
It was all right, James. Good to hear from you.
How is Aseto?
Aseto is in fine form this morning.
Okay.
What is your thought? Does the buck stop with the president, or do we cut him some slack?
Let me tell you, it is the issue of school unrest. Is the problem emanates from the what? From the parents. Too much parental love.
Too much love?
Parental love. You know, the moment you are loved too much at home and you go to school and there's lack of it, you know, they will start bringing their heads. You get the point? We should not be blaming the government on everything. Everything we blame the government. I think it's unfair.
So in this case, the buck does not stop with the president. The buck stops with parents to stop loving their children so much.
It is too much. But these kids, we have them. We know what they do when they are at home.
How much do you love your child that you'd let anyone lay a finger on them? Or would you allow your children to eat dirty stuff simply because you love them so much?
You must be beaten if you're wrong. If you do something that is wrong, you must be beaten. That is the baseline. You know, you can... Hakuna mtu atakubembeleza. It's like you are to be at work at 6. You must be there. If you comply, you leave the job. That's the rule of the land.
And that when you talk about schools and being able to provide quality to students, to ensure that students are not overcrowded in facilities, that it is their right as well to have those luxuries in schools?
How do overcrowding brings an arrest in school? The issue I was told was about the musicians. Calligraph Jones was not in there.
That is not the issue in the over 50 schools that has closed. That was one school issue. But we need to look at the global issue here that a lot of students and teachers, by the way, this is not just students, are complaining about currently.
Let me tell you, the problem is not the government. Why do we blame government? Everything we blame government.
Okay, so your assertion here, James, is that the buck does not always stop with the president or the government. Okay.
It is the parent. I think it's the parental issue.
All right.
You ask me.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comment this morning. Of course, taking a lot more from others this morning. So he says, no, in this case, the buck does not stop with the president. The buck, in this case, where we're talking about education, stops with parents, and we should then be able to take that into consideration when having these conversations. Just a few of those coming in. The people who are enablers, according to Madly Africa, and I say the way the question is framed is like you take just him into consideration and not the people who allow him to continue to do this. And I think that's one thing that we often do overlook, that there are people who may be telling the person who is in the driver's seat that mbele iko sawa and labda it is not sawa. Somebody may have checked and you're not going to deal with that. Somebody, you looked at them checking the oil and water and they gave you the thumbs up and you're actually saying, well, I'm going to drive this vehicle based on what you've told me. And if it's not the case, then where do we end up? So who does the buck stop with then? That's a great question or a great point, Madly African, where you say the enablers are the ones who are also giving the information that is not the case. When people have been telling you all this time that Shah iko sawa, and then the president comes and says, give them 25 billion, and munajua vizuri sana hakuna pesa. Then now he wakes up in the morning and people are saying Shah is not working and he told you to give 25 billion. Where were you when you would have told him, hey, ile imebaki ni 3 billion? Excuse me, cat got your tongue? Why couldn't you speak up then?
Mimi swali ni moja.
Moja tu.
You know, we would look at the enablers, right, who are your appointees, and you task them with advising you. But as well, you as an individual who's taking care of this ship, at the point where you hear a wheel is shaking and you're not moving in the right direction, what do? You gotta stop.
That's the question. You stop or do you continue going? Those are the questions that we asked this morning. These are the conversations that we're having. And it'd be interesting to see that I'm just seeing from what we're seeing this morning, folks don't believe that all the blame is on one person.
One person,
That this one is a shared responsibility, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you for joining us in the first conversation of the week, coming in on the week of 8th of June. Asante sana for being here in the Situation Room with us. We continue more conversations tomorrow. Have a good day. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. 7 people have died and 27 others were seriously injured following a road accident involving a Rembo Company Mutanu and a trailer at ACK Salama area, Makueni County, on the Nairobi-Mombasa highway. Muka OCPD Abduba Gura said the